Hey guys, I am all comfy. Just had a shower. Got my cappuccino. Got Maggie May here with me. Come here, Maggie. You guys can't see her, but there's Maggie May. Say hi, Maggie May. Maggie May's so cute. She had a shower too. Oh, we're very comfy and ready to talk about why the Walking Dead fans have been having a problem with the type of violence that was on Walking Dead the first half of the season. And I have a thought about that. I actually have a friend who is a neuropsychologist, and we will call him Dr. Alzombro. Let's go there. We have had lengthy discussions for many years since The Walking Dead started about the governor and now about Negan. So I want to talk about the reasons why we think that viewers have been turned off by the type of aggression that The Walking Dead has been showing this first half of this season. So don't shut me down and stick around. Hi Betsy, how you doing, girl? Can you see Betsy? Oh, there she is. I've had that thing up like for years. She's got to be. Betsy, how old are you? Huh? How old are you? I think she is like 15 years old. You can't find them made like that anymore. Although, you know what? I've been subscribed to. Ooh, she loves me. I've been subscribed to the Vega Zone, and he is a special effects artist. He shows you like from start to finish different projects he's working on, and it is so cool. So although I say you can't get that kind of Zom anymore, I bet he could make one. But anyway, check him out. What I want to talk about today is the reason why viewers are having problems with the season 7 first part acts of violence that Negan's been doing. We know that some of the viewership had dropped a little bit since the premiere of season 7. You know, a lot of viewers said they had a visceral reaction, physiological reaction to watching Negan's clubbing Glenn and Abraham. And Negan, I think for the most part, it wasn't the actual violent act that did that to them. I think it was the actual reaction of Negan and the enjoyment he was taking out of that. It's not just a way to get what he wants out of them. There are other ways that you can get obedience from a group of people. Rick doesn't do that to his own people, but Negan does. He does that to strangers. He does that to his own people in his group. And Negan views people as a resource. He views people as material to be used. So the sadistic personality disorder is no longer used in the DSM. And part of that is because the characteristics can be covered by other types of personality dysfunction. Now, some psychologists would argue that that's a mental disorder, but I'm of the camp that state that a personality disorder is not really a mental disorder, it's just a dysfunctional personality. So in my other video where I talk about the governor and Negan and compare them, I talked about how the governor was totally different than Negan, and Negan had more of a psychopathic personality. And in psychopathic personalities, they can be comorbid, which means they exist along with other types of personality features, and sadism is one of them. Once the apocalypse happened, once things went down, then his social sadism actually transformed himself with the loss of his wife and everything else, blossomed into this new, more severe form of sadism where he actually gets aroused and pleasure from inflicting pain on others. Now, it is okay to have other people do it for him. I mean, he gets some satisfaction, but the most satisfaction he gets is when he gets to do it himself. So the basic things that you can look for in somebody who has tyrannical sadism is a pervasive model of cruelty for establishing dominance within a relationship or group, and not to achieve some interpersonal goal like protecting yourself, against something like a robbery or protecting your reputation, but more so that they take pleasure, they're amused, they enjoy and get satisfaction, and sometimes sexual satisfaction, out of doing these things to others. They will humiliate people, they will demean people, they will behave to others who's under their supervision or under them harshly and cruelly, and often hide it under the guise of discipline. So we know that The Walking Dead has violence in it. I mean, it is, after all, the apocalypse, and we have zombs running around killing people, and people are trying to keep themselves safe. Up until the past first part of the season, we have had a different type of violence. It's been more instrumental violence. Instrumental violence is used as a necessary means to obtain some kind of goal, something that you want. So Rick and his group, they have used violence, they have done things, they haven't been proud of it, they have struggled with their own humanity, they've struggled with the things that they've done. That would be a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. I mean, let's face it, you've got zombies and you've got bad people trying to kill you, and you have to do things to survive. But it's not something that they gain enjoyment from. It was merely a means of survival. So that's very much what we call instrumental violence or instrumental aggression, where the person does things to obtain a means to an end, but it's not in their nature to enjoy it. It's actually quite disturbing and something that they struggle with. On the other hand, the introduction of Negan has showed a different type of violence, one that the Walking Dead viewers have not been exposed to, and that is more of a sadistic violence. Not all people who has sadistic tendencies will show their symptoms. Well, actually, it's not really a mental disorder, it's a personality dysfunction, but they will not show their symptoms manifesting as severe as Negan has this first part of the season. In fact, if we look at Negan's backstory, where he was a coach, but he humiliated his students, he was inappropriate to his students, making sexual innuendos, humiliating them and degrading them to get a sense of power within himself, well, that is social sadism, and that is typically what we see in our society. Now, the more extreme type of sadistic behaviors are usually seen in individuals who can be termed psychopaths, and is comorbid, which means it goes along with other types of disorders. And some research has been done, and God, I don't want to quote the wrong university, but it's very interesting that they say that psychopaths is actually a combination of 3 different personality disorders, which is antisocial, histrionic, and
what's the third one? Antisocial, histrionic, and
I had a brain fart. Narcissistic. Okay, if we take that idea that sadistic behaviors and sadistic personalities can be comorbid with the psychopathic personality, then that makes sense. That kind of explains Negan. Before the apocalypse, he displayed social sadism with his students, according to the backstory of the comics that was released. Here's Negan. And so when the apocalypse happened, it just sort of triggered him to become a different type of sadistic. So what is sadism? Well, sadism is where a person undergoes physical pleasure by watching others in pain. They also take great pleasure in performing the sadistic acts, and sometimes can become aroused, if you will. It can involve emotional cruelty, intentionally manipulating others by the use of fear tactics, and inflicting suffering and pain onto others. Now, like I said, it typically in our society does not involve physical aggression, but in this world, in the Walking Dead world, it does. So there's 4 different types of sadism, and Negan fits the tyrannical sadist. Individuals that have this type of sadism tend to have unpredictable acting out behaviors. They're unpredictably violent. Tyrannical sadists, they are more methodical in planning and very precise in their actions. So they know what they want to do to achieve the desired effect. And they choose their victims. They look around and they see which person they need to break, which person they can do their things to, who will get control over the other people that they're trying to influence, which is very much what Negan's done by targeting Rick. You pick the strongest one and you do what you have to do to make sure that they're gonna stand up and attack back against you. Well, interesting enough, these type of sadists usually have low self-esteem and a lot of insecurities that they try to cover up through their behaviors. When they do succeed in what they're trying to do, then they feel a sense of power and they feel a sense of control and they feel superior, which ultimately covers up their low self-esteem. Their behaviors, these type of sadists, are so overwhelming to others because it's so atypical of what we normally experience in our interactions with people. Now, I know we don't have Negan's backstory from childhood, but I will tell you that there's a lot of different theories as to why these things come about. And most of all, it is during their developmental period where they have had a continual connection between some stimulus with sexual satisfaction or happiness connected to misery and anguish of something else, another person, or even an animal. Also, there's been some research that shows there may be some biological components inherent in that as well. So that's typically what can lead to sadism. But Negan has had these behaviors, and I think that's why Walking Dead fans have kind of had a problem with it. Negan actually has, you know, gotten enjoyment. Matter of fact, a lot of times after a violent act, and I'm also going by the comic books, after a violent act, he wants to be with one of his wives. So, you know, this too is, he doesn't see himself as being sadistic. He doesn't see himself as having any issues. He thinks his behavior is rational. He said that all the time to Rick. I'm a rational guy. I'm a reasonable guy.
I didn't kill your boy. He shot down some of my men, but I didn't kill him. Look how reasonable I am. Oh, look how reasonable I am. That guy, he wanted to have me kill you so he could take over Alexandria. But look how reasonable I am. I killed him for you.
Right. Well, so he does things. He puts himself in this little balloon. He's created this world where he's made the rules that demonstrate that he's a reasonable guy. Like, we know Negan doesn't like rape. Well, is it not rape what he's doing? Well, no, Negan would argue it's not, because they are his wives. He has many wives. So therefore his interactions with them would not be considered rape. He has a lot of psychological protectors in place to defend himself against the insight that would show him that he has problems. So he's not very insightful into the nature of his difficulties, and he thinks that others, and is baffled why others don't see him as this reasonable, good guy that is trying to move civilization forward. Well, the problem is that he has a sadistic personality and he's a psychopath. And so that is why we have all the sadistic violence that we've been seeing this first half of the season. And I think that, you know, viewership has dropped a little after the introduction of Negan. It has dropped down a little, and that this may be why. You know, we're not used to seeing that type of violence. If you like this video, please hit that like button. If you do like the psychological mixing with The Walking Dead, give me a thumbs up, because that's the only way I'm going to know, unless you say a comment, that's the only way I'm going to know if you want to see more videos like this. And if you're not a subscriber and you do want to be notified when I have new videos come up, please subscribe. We are a family-friendly variety channel. I know it goes against the grain. People usually focus on one thing. But we are a family that loves the zombie genre. We love The Walking Dead. We love Z Nation, and also the movies. So we try to incorporate that as much as we can into the things that we do on this channel. But we are a variety channel. Mixing that all up, I think it sort of reflects us as a family. We have so many different interests. So if you think you would like something like that, go ahead and subscribe. You can always check us out. All right, guys, you have a good evening, and only 5 days to The Walking Dead, Zomheads. I just can't wait to see what's going to happen. And as I watch, you know, the rest of the season, I am going to continue to think about that instrumental violence of Rick's group versus the sadistic violence of Negan and Negan's group. And keep processing that. Brain's always working. All right, guys, see you later. Bye. Hi, everybody. As they're disappointed or frustrated with what's going on. I'm Betsy. I'm Betsy. There may be some biological components inherent in that as well.
Oh, I'm so reasonable. I didn't kill your boy. He shot down some of my men, but I didn't kill him. Look how reasonable I am. Ooh. Oh, look how reasonable I am. That guy, he wanted to have me kill you so he could take over Alexandria. But look how reasonable I am. I killed him for you.
Don't forget to hit the like button.